Hey guys, welcome to Indie Game Hustle. My name is Charles, and we are going to continue our series with making a platformer. And in this video, we're going to take a look at our player. And our goal now is to think about what is our player going to be doing in the actual game, or at least in the world that he's in, right? So we're going to take a look at, let's start with maybe jumping, because every platformer needs a player to jump. Okay, so we're going to try to make this easy. All right, so let's go ahead and hit play and see what we got here. All right, so if I hit the jump button, or if I hit the space bar, it looks like jump is already enabled here this way, and that's all well and dandy. But let's take a look at how we can just create a trigger so that we can set up jump right in here by creating a mechanic. Okay. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is, let's see, take a look at our player. I'm going to select the player, and what I want to do is right click and create an empty. Okay, and I'm going to rename this game object as maybe like skills, or maybe mechanics. We can do it that way, so I think that would probably work. So let's see, mechanics. Okay, and inside mechanics, we want to start adding a trigger, or something to tell us what this mechanic is. So underneath mechanics, we want to add all types of different things. So the first thing I want to do is add a trigger. And for game creator, basically, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go game creator trigger. All right, so now we have a trigger component here added on to this newly made game object. Okay, and what we're going to do here is change this trigger, let's see, to a input, and let's say we want to jump on space key button down, space bar. Cool. And then if I hit this here, we can do action. It's going to create an action, and that action is going to be added to the child of the trigger. And then inside this action, I'm going to go add action. And once that opens up, we're going to go down to, say, character. Yep. And then we want to do jump. So I believe character jump is right there. And we're going to select target for player. And we want to simply leave it to jump force to be a standard there. So we're going to leave that just like that. So I do know that that's going to work because it's already set the space bar. So that is already defaulted that way. And I believe that is set up default by the inputs. So let me take a look at the project settings and look at the input manager here. And let's see. I believe jump is already, so that's the joystick button jump, and I was under the impression that it was space. There it is. So space. So you could change this to a different button and that would probably be fine. You can do E, I think. So I put the E button. So let's just go ahead and I'm going to minimize or move this out the way for a second, and if I hit play, now, if I hit the E button, let's see, does it jump? Nope, it doesn't jump. The space bar is obviously still our jump button. And so let's take a look at that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and change this back because that's actually probably not what's affecting it. What's affecting it is probably right in here, and I don't think I've ever changed this before, but where is it? I'm pretty sure it's in here. Player input jump key, there it is right there. So pretty self-explanatory. So we can change that jump key. The standard jump key is spacebar. So if we want to change it to do something else, we can. Now this particular one, we don't necessarily need this to say space, but if you're using a controller, for instance, and we wanted to use a joystick, so I'm going to go joystick button 0, and you wanted the player to jump other than using the space bar or the keyboard, this is how you can do that. So let's go ahead and test that out. So the joystick button, I'm gonna hit play, and I'm gonna grab my 360 controller. And as I did say 360, I am still using my 360 controller. I haven't purchased it in like an Xbox One or anything yet. And so I'm gonna jump, and there you have it. So I'm able to jump with my 360 controller, and I can actually already move around because this is probably based on horizontal and vertical axes. So that's mapped to the left analog stick, so I can jump with the button and double jump, of course, and that works great. And so that's what you can do with the key down action there. So that works pretty good. So we can leave that there. That's fine. And let's keep it moving. So the next thing I think we want to do is get our player to run as well. So right now our player is just moving. So let's go ahead. I'm going to expand the space now a little bit so we can get some actual some space here for our player to move around. So I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to actually make a duplicate of this, and let's go ahead and do it like so. All right, cool. And I'm going to expand this out, and I'll even expand it out this way, and I'll expand it this way. All right, great. So I think this may be just enough space for us to run about and get a sense of movement for our little guy here. So let's see here. So let's go ahead and hit play and just get a sense of what's going on. So right now we have the little guy. He can run and jump, and we know that kind of works with the controller. That's all fine. And we can zoom out if needed. So what we want to do is be able to run faster by maybe holding down a button. So right now, if I say, for instance, hold down the shift key, it's not, he's not running. He's just still moving at the regular speed. So if I were to hit play and go back to the player here, and if you look at run speed, and we'll change this to, let's say, change it to 8. See, he's moving much faster, so that's what we're going to manipulate. And we're going to manipulate that using actions, okay? And so it's going to be pretty easy. So let's go ahead and move this back down. So we can do this one or two ways. We can actually have the player normally walk, and when you hit a button, he runs. Or he can normally run, and when you hold down the button, he walks slower. So right now, let's say we have the run speed to 2. This is what it would look like if he was kind of like moving that fast. And that's fine. And if we hold down a button, we want him to move faster. But let's see how we can do that. All right. So what is the normal way? What would we think would be considered normal? I would say maybe he runs, and then if you want him to run faster, he just runs faster. And that's probably how we can set it up. So let's do it that way. So I'm going to set his run speed to, I think it was at 4, but I'll put it at 5. So this is basically his default speed, right? And that's fine. I think maybe 4 or 5 is probably fine. I'll just put it at 4, and then we will up that speed to maybe 6. All right, so great. So we have a cube here. Let's just move this guy out the way. We'll make sure that we can't select it. All right, great. So now we have our player. This is our mesh, our player mesh, and then we have our mechanics here. So we know that this is our jump mechanic. So let's go ahead and just call this trigger jump trigger, or trigger jump, right? And we can leave that just like that. And so we're going to do another trigger, and we're going to do game creator trigger, and we're going to call this run. Okay. All right. So what do we want to do? Which buttons do we want you to press to be able to do that? So if this is mainly a keyboard game, we will, or a PC game using just the keyboard, we can go change trigger to input, and then we can go on key down. On key down, we can do the shift key, right? So we just search for the shift key, and I don't know where that is. It's probably listed as left shift. There we go, left shift. So left shift. So when we hit that button down, we can do an action. And in that action, we want to change the player's run speed, okay? And that's how we're gonna do it. So we're gonna go to, let's see where it's at, character. And we're gonna change the run speed. And I believe that's gonna be a property. Okay, so we're gonna look for the properties. There we go, change property. And we're gonna say player can run. All right, and we want to change the value. So let's check on that. And I don't think it's this one. I think it's going to be, let's see, set run speed. And we want to set the run speed to something faster. We can do 6 maybe. All right, and so when we hold, so let's go back. When the key is down and we hit the shift key, it's going to activate this action and it's going to change our speed to 6. So let's go ahead and test that out. All right, so we're running. Boom. See? All right, so let's see here. So now what we have to check for is what's happening really. So he looks like he's still moving. And the reason that is, I believe, is because it changed the value. So if I were to select my player while still in play mode, you'll see, let's see here, our run speed is at 6, and that's because we changed the value completely. It didn't go back. So let's see if we can have a trigger. We're triggering a run, so we'll go here, and we'll create another trigger by going add component, trigger, and we'll say on left shift, let's see, input on key up, and we'll do the same thing, left shift, and where is it? Left shift. And what we'll do is we'll do another action for this, and it's going to be this action 2. We're going to go back to character, property, and we're going to do change run, set the run speed back to what we needed it at before. So in this case, it's going to be 4. So we're going to see if this works. So the idea is on key down, it's going to do this action, and on key up, it's going to go back to that action, right? And we can look at that here. So we'll look at the run speed. Where is it again? Right here, run speed is at 4. So it should start at 4. When we try to run, go to 6, let go key, go back to 4. Let's see if it works. So we're at 4, at 6, at 4. Perfect. And that's how we're going to toggle that. And that works out pretty good. All right, great. So that's how we're going to do the run. Okay. Now that may not be the best key for it, right? But it seems like my hands don't feel awkward. I think like when I'm playing other games, the shift key is definitely a run button. So we can do that. And the standard run isn't so bad. So if you wanted to run, it works out pretty good. So we'll rock with that. That's not too bad at all. All right. So now let's keep it organized, right? So we want to name these actions. So action, we want to say set run speed. Action set run speed to 4. Or we can just set run speed. And we can actually change this one to set run speed as well. I would say call it walk. Even though they're both running in a way, I guess, but we can just make it slower and we can go that route. Let's see here. Now, if we mess with some locomotions, we can probably get it to the point where he has like a walking animation as opposed to a running animation, but we'll get into that here soon. So, all right, so we have a jump mechanic, we have a run speed check mechanic, and that works pretty good. Let's hit play. I'm gonna see if he jumps. You see how when he's in the air, you can kind of speed up by hitting that space while you're in the world, in the air, and hitting the button a bunch of times causes menu, don't know why. All right, so we might want to change that. So let's see if we can do that. So what we can probably do is go back to our, let's see here, jump trigger. And we can say, let's see if we have another trigger, and let's just see what the trigger provides us. Let's see, input, I think we have a way to check if we're in the air or not. And that's gonna probably be more like a condition, but let's see here. All right, I think, let's see here. I think they have something where it tells if you're in the air or landing. On land. Okay, so on land, and I think there's another one that says on jump. There we go, on jump. So let's see here. We probably don't want, we want to disable something when we're in the air. So let's see here. Let's see. So when the player lands, we want to enable the ability to run, right? So here's a little way to go about it. So we just have this action because I click this, and that was probably created right here. Okay. And so what we can do is set active one of our actions here. So let's see here. We don't want to run. So we're going to set active. We're going to turn that off. That's going to basically make that enable us to not be able to run. So of course I'm in play mode. You always have to remember not to be in play mode. Let's go back. And let's see, I'm gonna go back and create my triggers. And again, this one's on, one of them is on jump and the other one is on land. On land. Perfect. All right, and let's go ahead and do it again. And just so that we will, I'm gonna change this action and rename it. And I'm gonna just action jump, okay. And we could actually take it another step forward and just call it like a standard jump, because we may incorporate like some other type of jumping. So, all right, cool. So I have this. So when I hit this, since I added a trigger to this, and you can have multiple triggers, which is awesome on one component. All right. So I'm going to click this button. It's going to create another action right there. And this action, when we're in the air on jumping, we want to disable the ability to run. So what I'm going to do is rename this to disable run. Okay. And in this action, I'm going to simply set active. Well, we can do one or two things. We could probably set active, turn off that, which is probably what I'll do. And we'll see if that works. So we're going to take this game object, this trigger, and we're just going to disable that. Now, I think we could do it a different way where you could go like character and go to property. And where is it? There it is. And we can just basically can run and just set it to no. So we can probably do that, but I wonder if this will override that, and that's setting the run speed. So let's go ahead and let's try to just do it this way where you can or can't run. So let's do it that way first and see if it works. All right, and then we'll go back, and then in terms of jumping, so we have on jump and then on landing, we want to do another action, and we're going to name this action enable run. Right? And then we're simply going to enable the run. And it's all logic. So, nope, wrong one. Character properties. And we're going to say can run back to true. So this one is true, that one is false. And we have our standard jump. Okay, cool. And we have all our triggers. So let's see if this works. All right, so we shouldn't have that. We shouldn't be able to change basically the speed mid-air. So we can run, that's fine. All right, and then if I were to jump, it's still working. It's still not doing, it's still doing it. So what we don't want is that. So what we want to do is, we don't want that. So let's try it the other way. Disable run. So instead we want to disable the ability to change the run speed. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do set active instead, and we're going to take the trigger run, and we don't want that trigger to work. And so I'm going to turn this off because that's not doing it. And we're going to keep that. I'm going to copy. This is what copying allows. So you can copy an action from one to the other. So copy. And then I'm going to go into the enable run, and I'm going to paste, and then I'm just going to make it true. Okay. And then I'm going to turn this one off. All right, cool. So this should work. Let's see if that works as expected. All right, so let's check it out. So basically when we're in the air, all right, so if you notice over here where the trigger, as soon as we jump, it sets it inactive. And that's what we want, because we don't want to be able to activate that trigger. Okay, perfect. All right, so now we can run. And now when I'm in the air, he doesn't change because that trigger isn't working. And that's perfect. That's exactly the behavior that we want. So we've effectively created we have a jump mechanic that is working based on kind of what we need. So it's better. So for instance, if you're running and jumping, you want to run and jump. So if you walk and jump, or if you do this speed, that's going to be the speed you're set at. So it's better to run, then jump, and you'll have that momentum. And you can't change that momentum mid-air. Okay. So that works, I think, pretty good. All right, perfect. Well, I think that'll be it for this video. I'm going to try to keep these videos separate so that you can find what you're looking for. So even if you're not following the series, now you can set your run and jump mechanic up for your character in whatever type of game that you're utilizing. All right, so in the next video, we're going to take a look at another mechanic, and that mechanic is going to be something like crouching or maybe crawling. All right. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. For the next set of videos, I'll be releasing one every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So to stay up to date on the latest 3D platforming tutorial, feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support, you can find me on Patreon, or of course you can hit me up on Discord. I like to talk about whatever project you guys are working on. Of course, thanks for hanging with me. Your support is always appreciated. As always, remember, never give up and keep moving forward. Peace.